Hello, everybody. Michelle, how are you?
Right? Got a few minutes. You wanted to talk Apple car because like we're
Yeah,
competing on.
we're not competing. We're not competing. They just, you know, they Apple made the mistake of scheduling their annual event to Tesla Live time, which obviously was a wrong move. They shouldn't have done that. If you're on YouTube, please let me know how audio is. Let's make sure everything is good. Okay, good. Hustle Town says good. All right. Dallas, how are you?
Doing good. Feeling moving a little slow today after a long weekend of hanging out on the Guadalupe River in South Texas, but enjoying the good weather here in Dallas. 78 degrees.
Okay, very good. Habib, good to hear from you. How are you? Habib, did you trade in your Taycan yet? I'll take silence as a yes. Edward, how are you doing?
Not too bad today. Weather up here in North Carolina is really nice too. I'm looking forward to fall coming now.
Good. Hustle Town, Alexander, welcome. Edward, how are you liking your Cybertruck? Did you get this auto park update?
Didn't get the auto park. We got the visualization, which definitely helps just by itself. It's very detailed with the visualization, so you can see kind of how close you are to everything. Because trucks are kind of a pain to drive anyway. But didn't get the full parking yet.
Have you ever driven a truck before the Cybertruck?
Me, no. And it's not even like driving a truck as far as what people have told me that have driven a truck and have test drove the Cybertruck. They just keep, saying just because of the steering. I think the steer by wire, the four-wheel steering is something that it doesn't usually have in other trucks, obviously.
Yeah, I wonder what percent of Cybertruck buyers have never driven a truck before. What did you own before the Cybertruck? Can you remind us?
I have the Model 3 Performance, but before that, I actually had a BMW i3 electric and a BMW i135 before that.
Yeah. So you want the latest and the greatest, as long as it supports the mission, basically, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm a big fan of tech. I don't know much about it per se, like my own experience, but I'm just a fan of the world moving forward and not being stagnant,
Okay, very good. Michelle, Apple isn't going to announce an Apple Car today, right?
No, it was trolling, but I mean, I'm gonna be listening or even participating this time to the space instead of listening to the Apple announcement. Unless they announce a car,
Yeah.
I might switch, but that's very low probability. It was kind of
No, you don't have
trolling.
to switch. Even if they announced an Apple Car, we would just pipe it in here.
But what happened? Like they tried and gave up.
Yeah, I mean, even Elon thought they were going to have a car, but they didn't try hard enough, obviously. But yeah, I wonder what's going to come out today. But I think it's just going to be here's the latest iPhone, which looks exactly the same as the last one, and maybe a new color, and that's about it. We have a lot more to talk about here, Edward.
Yeah, Yaman, I was just had a quick question for you. You know how Elon was talking about there would be a direct competitor to Tesla? Was he referring to Apple or another car company?
I don't know, but we are competing right now with the Apple event, so please like, repost, reply, share with your followers. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like and leave a comment below the video, and share the link with your followers. And let's get the word out, because Tesla Live is so much more important, I think, than stupid Apple events, which I haven't watched for the last 5 years. Anyway, don't feel like I missed anything. All right. Alexander, you watched my interview with Uzi, right?
Yes, I did.
What'd you think of it? I'll pin it up here for anybody who wants to watch the interview with Uzi, which I thought was a good one. It was a good first interview Uzi isn't necessarily somebody who has, you know, wide influence or anything like that. He's very young, very new in the community, but he's very smart. And I thought it would be a good third episode after Omar and Chris. And I hope to have more of you on the speaker board on my YouTube channel for one-on-one conversations, which tend to be different than Tesla Live conversations. And I really enjoy them. And this was a good first one to get Uzi's predictions on the board, and so that we can follow up a month or 2 months later with new information and see how the forecasts changed, why, what we learned from that incremental change, etc. That's the kind of goal of this channel. Alexander, what do you think of the interview? The link is at the top.
Yeah, I like hearing Uzi's thoughts and opinions, actually. I think he did really good, and it was really interesting. Sadly, he didn't share too much about himself. I hoped he would share some more, but yeah, it's up to him.
Yeah, some people appreciate their anonymity and value their anonymity, and I respect that. I'm not a very private person, as I have my name, my social media accounts, and everything, but I respect people's right to privacy. So, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. What matters is, what do they think? How do they think? How they adjust with new information. But what was any key takeaways, Alexander, or anything that you disagree with him?
Yeah, I think he was way too on Optimus. So yeah, that's the only thing I disagree with, I think.
Yeah. So are you going to be my episode 4?
Sure. Why not?
Okay, good. The link is at the top of your screens, okay? And then in a reply to that tweet, there's the Patreon link. So all patrons and YouTube members get a 1-week advance look. And then I'm going to switch the YouTube video to public. And so you can see that on there as well. YouTube membership is a good way to support this space. It's only $2.99 a month, and you actually get quite a bit. So, and you're going to get more. All right, Michelle, and then you're going to come on too, episode 5, right?
Sure. Set the dates. I'll put the time apart for that. We can deep dive a little bit more on AI on one-on-one.
Absolutely. And tonight we have the AI amateurs. Are you going to be able to make that?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Very good. YouTube video today is open for everybody, so you can head over and participate in live chat. Usually it's members only. And I'm keeping an eye on it as well. All right. Let's see. Dallas, what's on your mind today?
Watching the stock price, up day. Obviously, as Omar always says, it's flat, which I agree with. I think long term is flat, but it is always nice to see that portfolio go up a little bit. Waiting on actually Smart Summon, obviously, like the rest of us. I think this is one of the first releases where I'm not like chomping at the bit to get it as fast as possible. I think I want this release to be the best it can possibly be. So even if that means it's Sunday night at midnight or even into next week, that's fine with me. I think the early access beta has shown that there are minor little things that they could work on before it goes wide. And really just excited to see a comparison from the early access release to the wide release of ASS in particular.
Has anyone watched ass videos? Man, I can't say this. Has anyone watched all of them? Not all of them, but most of them. With AI driver is putting up a lot of information, which is amazing. I mean, his channel is just high quality, man. Some of the videos that he puts up on X and YouTube, just the formatting and the story, and just amazing. And Omar obviously is doing a great job as well. And I want to maybe learn from you all who have watched it. I've been busy the last few days with other things. So Edward, have you been watching these videos?
Yeah, super hilarious. Like I literally cut the AI driver 2 days ago, pushing the smart summon in the Costco parking lots, and I literally cut it in half just to jump on right now. But it's really good stuff so far. I mean, I watch all of his videos. They're like you said, they're very high tech and good video quality and audio quality.
Okay, good. So what do you make of it? First of all, let's start with, what was your rated out of 10?
What would I rate it?
Yes.
I would rate it. I was rating it about an 8. I would say about an 8, and the reason being is it needs to go a little quicker, obviously, and it doesn't want to block. It seems to stall a little bit and like block people potentially. Like it has to be a little bit more aggressive for getting out of the spot. If people are in the way, if cars in the way, it's got to be a little bit more savvy, like a human driver. So I mean, it's not too far off though, I don't think.
Okay, good. So you rated 8, Omar rated 7. So you're more optimistic than Omar when it comes to ass. You're more of an ass man.
For sure.
Okay, Alexander?
Yeah, I realized that I actually didn't give you any rating. I would say 5 out of 10.
Why?
Because it's still quirky, and 10 out of 10 would be like you walking out and it automatically knows that it needs to pick you up.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be wide adoption just yet. And it's still a bit of a party trick. But, it's improving. I think it is better than the previous Smart Summon. So this is actually Smart Summon. And also, I think it will improve faster with this new code. Dallas.
Yeah, I think you just touched on the most important factor, which is improvement. The way actually Smart Summon was coded originally, which AI driver, again, to highlight what you said earlier, he's fantastic at his videos, and he touched on this. It was just using ultrasonic sensors with no understanding of how a car drives. So there was never any way for that to really improve. The new format of ASS, it actually will improve alongside FSD because it's being run on FSD. So we're going to see equal improvement with actually Smart Summon as we will on FSD, that's just exciting beyond belief for me. And to give it a rating like you were asking earlier, I'd say right now, I think it's, maybe a 7, 10 being perfect, to be totally fair.
I don't know. I agree with Alexander. I'm finding myself agreeing with Alexander more often lately. I think it's more of a 5. It's hard to call something a 7 if it's mostly a party trick. Like the passing grade is 6.
I'll go 6. 6 is fair. I agree. I think it's too slow and not near perfect. So I agree with that.
Yeah. Uzi, welcome. I pinned at the top my interview with Uzi, episode number 3. And Uzi patrons seem to like it quite a bit. The average view duration is actually the highest. So 69%. And people are clicking on it on YouTube as well. So I'll monitor all the statistics. How'd you feel?
Humbled. I think it was a good experience to do the graph with you, to get grilled a little bit, have some banter. But I enjoyed the discussion. It makes
Good.
you, yeah. Thank you.
And Alexander mentioned that too, actually. Alexander, what did you say in the replies?
That is Tesla Nostradamus for sure.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, if you want to watch it, the link is at the top of your screens. JC, how you doing?
Hey, Yaman, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. What's new with you today?
Not much. Just got off of a work call, so apologies about that. I was a little late in getting in here. Thanks for the invite. I'm not exactly sure why I'm so honored, but anytime I get a direct invite from the man himself, of course I'm gonna show up.
Well, always appreciate you being here. Obviously, you have tremendous experience with FSD and Tesla products as well. You used to own the car I dream about, and now you have the new Model 3, which seems to be very popular, actually. I think the sales of the new Model 3 appears to be increasing from what I can tell. But, this is circumstantial evidence. So I'll keep an eye on it. But I think the new Model 3 is deeply underrated. Even the average Tesla owner that I know in my personal life, they don't realize how much value Tesla added to the new Model 3. When I asked them about it, they're like, oh, wait, a new one came out? Dude, it's been around. You've been seeing it on the roads. But they can't, they don't know to look at the headlights or what have you, because the body shape seems, stayed mostly the same. So people can't really tell. But once you get into it, like some of the criticisms I see these days in the comment sections about the Model 3, they relate to the old Model 3. But like, for example, suspension, ride quality. The new one is so much better. JC, can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that's a great segue because I actually had the old Model 3 for about 2 weeks off of Turo and got to drive it around before I picked up my new Highland Model 3. And it's night and day difference. You mentioned the suspension. You don't hear the noises that I was hearing in the 2022 Model 3 that I had. I can't really pinpoint like one specific area the noises were coming from, but you could tell that it's, that there was a little more rattle and shake in that. There's zero. It definitely, I would say, from a ride quality perspective, it's very similar to the Model S that I had. Obviously, the biggest difference is the acceleration. The Model S Plaid it has crazy acceleration. I'll admit though, you don't need it. I never did. The only time that the Model S Plaid really came in handy for me, Yaman, is when I was getting coal rolled on I-10, Interstate 10, and I was for work. I was traveling between Houston and Baton Rouge, Louisiana, quite a bit, and of course, that's not exactly Tesla country down there in South Louisiana. So I'd get coal rolled 2 or 3 times, but I would be in another zip code before they even figured out what happened to them when I put that acceleration on them. So that was
That's
always
awesome.
fun.
How often? Let me see. How often did you floor the Plaid? I mean, listen. Look, you said obviously you didn't need it, but the fact is, like, no one needs 99% of the things that we talk about. Nobody, like, we don't need verbatim anything except for oxygen, food, maybe some protection shelter, body heat or whatever. But anything beyond that is a choice. And I don't need Plaid, but I really, really, really would like to go 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. I honestly, like, if money wasn't an issue, I can't imagine buying the Model 3 over the Model S Plaid, honestly. But that's just me.
No, I get it, and I've had the same question, and like I told you last week on that call, part of it's just a personal reason on my end right now, just from having lost, my previous Model S Plaid saving my life. So that's very specific to me. But you're right that the only times I ever used it, Yama, was on I-10 between Houston and Baton Rouge, getting coal rolled by Dodge Rams and Chevy Silverados and whatnot. And that there's a sense of pride, a sense of exhilaration when you can just hit that, and go 1.99. And like I said, literally you are in another zip code before they even figured out what happened to them.
Yeah.
That is definitely fun.
All right, Alexander.
Yeah, JC, if acceleration in the Plaid is 10, where would you put the Model 3 performance?
I'm not in the performance. I'm in the Model 3 long range all-wheel drive. And if anybody's got any questions on why I specifically chose those attributes, I'd be happy to answer it. But yeah, the Model 3 long range all-wheel drive that I have right now, if Model S Plaid was a 10, I would put this at a 7.5. But I
No
would probably
way. Are you serious? No way. Alexander,
It's-
let me. I'm going to say something to Alexander. I can tell from the question, Alexander has never driven the Model S Plaid. Alexander, have you?
No, they didn't
Exactly.
give me the
And
plan
you know
when I
why?
tried.
You know why? You know why? Because
'Cause
no one in the world who's ever been in a Model S Plaid and felt the acceleration would put it to 10. There is no way it's going to be in the scale of 1 to 10. It's an 11 at a minimum.
It's an 11, all the way
Yeah.
to 11. Spinal Tap.
Exactly. It's in a different league. Okay. The way I explain to people is if you're, everybody has been in, most people have been in a Tesla. They've kind of felt that they have a friend who showed them the acceleration, but it's usually the Model 3 or the Model Y, etc. Right. And when you feel the acceleration in a Model 3 or Model Y, you get pushed into your seat and you get this big grin on your face. Okay. There's actually a name for it too. On Urban Dictionary, they call it the Tesla grin. Okay. But if you're in a Model S Plaid and you feel the acceleration, first of all, you never forget that moment. I remember my first Model S Plaid acceleration moment. That was next to the Giga Texas, by the way. It was a friend of mine who was in the driver's seat. And you get nailed, not pushed into your seat, you get nailed to the seat. And you're not smiling, you're fearing for your life. Okay. So they're not in the same league, they're not comparable. JC?
Yeah, in fact, Yami, you bring up a good point, and I will tell you why I would still keep them on the scale, because you're absolutely right. It's like a rocket ship. But one thing to remember is when you push all the way down on the accelerator on a Model S Plaid, it's a little scary too. So you're never going to do it for more than 5 or 6 seconds. Whereas when I floor the Model 3, I feel like I could just stay with it, right? It's not so ludicrous. It's not so it's crazier than everything else around me, but it's something that I feel like, hey, I can handle this for a while. The Model S Plaid, and when I mean, it even in the driver's seat, and you've done it a few times, it never stops surprising you. But I'm with you. I mean, it is amazing. It's like no other car that I've ever driven in my life.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, by the way, JC says it's scary to push the accelerator in Model S Plaid, and he's been in the Marines, coming from a Marine. Okay, this guy has seen dead bodies, and he goes,
I have
scary.
flown. I've flown in helicopters with my legs hanging out the side. The Model S Plaid, when you've got the accelerator all the way down, is right up there with it.
Yeah, exactly. I highly recommend every single person to experience the Model S Plaid, whether in the passenger seat or the driver's seat, for yourself. And by the way, when I'm talking about Model S Plaid acceleration, I'm not talking about launch mode. Okay, I'm talking like literally you go, you're going like 10 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, and you floor it. It's insane. Anyway, Alexander?
When I bought my Model 3 Performance and I floored it, it felt like that shouldn't be legal. And I guess like the Plaid is one step above that.
Yeah, it cannot be described in words. All right, that makes me want to go test drive another. Anyway, JC, I think we should do a coffee, but I think you're going to go back to Model S Plaid.
Oh, I'll lose it because I'm definitely going back to Model S Plaid. I just got to have some time. I got you.
Okay, cool. All right. Who else has watched ass videos this weekend? All right. Hustle Town, why don't you tell us about
They stopped doing Pornhub in Texas, so unfortunately I can't watch any ass videos.
Okay. Hustle Town, why don't you tell us about your perception of actually Smart Summon?
It's pretty simple. I think it's 10 out of 10. I think people
like to, want to have it faster or be more mobile. I don't know if you notice when you go to Costco parking lots, humans are terrible in the parking lot. I kind of want it to be less like humans. I want it to be as safe as possible and to be functional. Just come to me when I ask for you to come here. If it takes a little bit longer, fine. Don't get in an accident. I'm a 10 out of 10. I like big butts and I cannot lie.
All right. We're trying to get canceled today. I mean, do you guys think that this will drive FSD adoption? I've actually seen some indications of FSD take rate rising, but I think very, very little. It's not material at this time, but I don't think that we're at that point just yet, but I think we're going to get there. Dallas and Manuzi.
So I'll touch on why I do think it's material. It's not the actual feature itself that people will go and buy the car because it can pick you up at the door. What's gonna help FSD, or I'm sorry, what someone's gonna help drive FSD sales by is the fact that it has visibility to all the people around you for the first time ever. The amount of people that you've been able to demo FSD for in the past is 1 to 3 people, how many people you can fit in your car, right? But this is going to be something that will be a public, sight to see. Someone's in a parking lot, holy shit, there's no one in that car. There's no one driving that car. So to me, it's a spectacle enough to drive social media engagement of the feature, which will then drive FSD sales down the road.
All right. Uzi.
I think at this point it's a gimmick. You put it on the Cybertruck. I heard there's auto park. I don't think that's actually smart summon, but if you put it on the Cybertruck, then you might have that virality. But I think at this point, the people that are really about Tesla have seen it and they're impressed. But there's always the comparison to Waymo, where it's L4 and acting autonomously on scale. So I think until it gets out of the driving lot, that's when you really start to see like a material impact.
All right. People are reminding me of live chat that Roadster is allegedly less than 1 second. I don't know if I remember less than 1 second, 0 to 60 for the Roadster. Does anyone remember on the board? Edward?
Yeah, 1.9 seconds. It wasn't less than 1. It was just a hair under 2.
No, that's Model Plaid, but what about the new Roadster?
Maybe with the SpaceX package, but not without it.
I don't think you're going to be able to use that unless if it's on FSD. I think that should be illegal. Alexander?
Yeah, first Roadster was 1.9 something, but the new one is promised to be under 1, but we haven't seen an actual demo, so you can't really say it's happened yet.
Is it actually under 1? I mean, once we get to that level, like every 0.1 matters, obviously. I thought it was more like 1.1 or 1.0 or something.
No, 0.9, I think, or 0.99 or something like that. That was a new promise.
Well, we're not that far away from 0, huh? Push a little harder.
1, I guess.
Yeah. Michelle says in live chat, Malas Plaid, you arrived before you left. Michelle also says physical limit is the traction of the tires. Yeah, that's true. Man, we're actually, our numbers are actually really, really good considering the fact that Omar is not here and there's an Apple event going on. We are literally competing with Apple right now. Okay. Apple is much less interesting, much less exciting. Tesla and Tesla Live are more innovative than Apple. If you agree, like and repost and share this space with your followers. Let's prove to the world Tesla is a more interesting company. Thank you, everybody. All right.
Brought to you by Joa.
Yeah, exactly. Brought to you by our sponsors, Joa and Pay More. Links. JC, you should be my, that was really good. You should be my audio ad reader. You have a good voice too.
We could be like Laurel and Hardy back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Pay More, you can sell your old electronics through the link at the top of your screens, paymore.com. Also, give them a shout out. Just thank them that for making this space possible, and also Joa. You can buy the wireless controllers for your Tesla. They also charge wirelessly, and people seem to be very happy about it. And you get a 5% discount if you use the code TSLA Live. The link is also at the top of your screens. Thank you, everybody. All right, Alexander. What did you think of Uzi? Wasn't here when you were talking about it. What did you think of our interview with Uzi?
Yeah, I really value Uzi's opinion. I think he's well spoken and very intelligent. So yeah, I really liked it.
There you go, Uzi. All positive. I mean, people leaving replies to very positive commentary. Thank you very much for joining. Alexander, can you speak to Tesla sales in Europe? Obviously, we're coming up to Q3 production and deliveries report. We're only 3 weeks away from it. It's going to be pretty important. When I tweet out to people, what do you think the deliveries are going to be? I get a range of anywhere from 450 to 500,000. So that's a very wide range with 3 weeks to go. It's going to be important for the stock price heading into the 10/10 event. I've seen mixed information about Europe. What do you think?
Well, I can share observation. I usually see the trucks with the Teslas on it when I drive to work, and I've seen far less trucks on this end of the quarter like it used to be. So I think it's gonna be a bit choppy maybe for the deliveries this quarter.
What do you have it estimated?
Yeah, my total was I think 470, but yeah, I don't know. For Europe, I don't know the total amount.
I mean, 470 would be amazing because I think the expectations are around 450 right now, and 470 would actually move the stock higher. I mean, that's 20,000 more. And Tesla is actually doing quite a lot in terms of incentives right now, especially the referral program that came back, giving $500 to be used at superchargers or the Tesla shop, or towards a new vehicle, up to 10 referrals. That's a massive incentive. Edward, have you racked up any referrals lately?
I not really, not technically. I refer people all the time, but I never really give them my referral code. And I'm just like, I mean, people, we sell the truck like all the time, and it's so crazy. Like this lady just the other day was like, "Oh my God, I'm getting this thing." We showed her the whole thing, tour about 20 minutes, and she was just inspired by the vehicle. But I mean, selling regular Teslas is a little trickier, I think, right now, except for the new Model 3, I think.
Do you have any? I mean, you have a YouTube channel. Obviously, you've been around Tesla. You care about the mission a lot. Do you have any tips for people for selling Teslas and racking those referrals up?
I think the biggest one is actually the test drive and the FSD. Even if they don't even care about FSD or like it, if you take them in the vehicle, that changes their mindset. I mean, it literally was talking my one of my neighbors into buying more shares of Tesla when I took him around. He's like, I did not know this was this good. And I said, and that was when version 12 just came out. And I'm like, man, it's going fast, and he was just mind blown.
Who on the board has more referrals? Let's see. JC, how many referrals you got?
Zilch, zero, nada.
Really? You're such a good person. I mean, you're such a good person, and you love your Tesla. Why don't you have any referrals?
I have not done a great job of even remembering that there is a referral code out there. I take folks around in my Tesla, but yeah, I need to do a better job of trying to get myself some benefits from it.
Practices. How about Dallas? Do you have any referrals?
Yeah, I think as of now, I think I've got 2 over the span of 2 or 3 years. I don't have any under this new referral system, but I got 2 under the last one, which was allowed me to get the speed or acceleration boost for free, which I thought was the coolest thing in the world. So.
JC, can you hear me?
I can now. I was wondering if
Okay.
somebody was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I dropped
Dallas.
for that.
All right. Dallas, do you have any tips and tricks for people?
To gain referrals, are you talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the most, the best thing you can do is take people in the car. I mean, the car used to sell itself without FSD. That's actually how I got my referrals, was before V12 was even out. And now people kind of are familiar with Teslas. They've been in enough Ubers to have seen the inside of the car. So the physical car isn't really going to be doing the selling. It's really the FSD now. Get them in the car. Even if they're comfortable, put them in the driver's seat, and let them experience FSD. I mean, the software sells the car itself.
Okay, so the same advice from JC, Edward, and Dallas, which is to get people in the passenger seat and show them FSD. That's the best way to sell Teslas. I agree. I mean, I think that's a really great way. Answer their questions while FSD is driving. And even if they don't end up getting FSD later on, they'll see that Teslas are the only ones that can drive themselves. JC?
Yeah, I mean, and I think the reason for that is, and I'm sure everybody on the board will agree, there has been so much FUD thrown at these people, and it's not their fault. I mean, they don't live and breathe Tesla like we do each and every day, and so all they hear is what's on CNBC or other mainstream media stuff. So they have complete misinformation about it. And the only way I know of to combat that is to literally put them in the passenger seat.
Okay, good. I see a couple people posting their referral pages. Come on up to request to speak and share with us your tips and tricks. Let's sell some more Teslas. Is Amped up in here? Let's see. There he is. Come on up. Don't be shy. All right. Uzi, how many referrals do you have?
0.
Come on. I'm going to put some quotas here. To be a speaker, you have to sell at least one Tesla a month. Hustle town. Come on.
The only referral I currently have is my wife, but that's not to my fault, right? I put 5 people in my Tesla. All of them.
That does not count.
All of them use different referral codes. All of them. My wife even had one of her employees. They used their friends, and she's the one that sold them. So sometimes it's not our fault if they're not using our referral codes.
Yaman's about to kick the whole speaker board down.
This is correct. Yeah. I need a referral code. Like, if I had a referral code, I would be killing that. But I actually like selling Teslas at, like, my favorite way of selling Teslas is at the red light. If I'm on the front, and just floor it. And anybody who's in that corner will buy a Tesla next. It's the easiest way. More fun. All right. Let's talk about the stock price a little bit. So where we are at the market right now, Tesla stock is up 3.33% today, $682 billion market cap. If I look at the overall markets, Dow Jones up 1.5%, Nasdaq up 1.3%, and all most stocks are up. All big tech companies are up except for Google. And my way of looking at if this is macro related or EV related or Tesla specific is look at the Rivian stock. Even that is up 2%. I mean, this is dead man walking up 2%. So this is probably a macro related move today. We got a lot of employment type of data last week. And I actually have 99% of my macro weekly updates ready to go for patrons. I just have to put up the last touches before I send it. So I'm going to send that today, macro weekly to the patrons. We're going to go out today. And that's going to include information on employment, inflation, etc. And this week, we're going to get inflation data. And it's really amazing to me that we are, September 18 is the next Fed meeting. We're only a week away from the next Fed meeting. And still the markets aren't certain whether it's going to be a 25 or a 50 basis point cut, which is amazing to me. And because this is very important. And I think Powell is leaning towards 50, but the rest of the Fed, FOMC is leaning towards 25. So this week's inflation data is going to be very important. Right now, the markets are pricing in an 80% probability of a 25 basis point cut and a 25% probability of a 50 basis point cut. I think either way, rates are a little too high still, but it's going to be interesting to see how this week evolves. Macro news is going to be the biggest driver of stocks in the coming week or two. So I'm going to be watching that closely. If you're also interested in this kind of stuff, follow Macro Analyst, who is the co-host. That's me. That's where I tweet most of my macro data and analysis. JC.
Yeah, Yaman, I wanted to do another quick plug for you. You, as you were rattling off all that macro, micro stuff, it made me. I remembered that the shows that you do on earnings day for Tesla are bar none the best. The last one I listened to, the 45 minutes before the earnings call felt like I was getting the best JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley report on Tesla. So just, I wanted to say that before I forgot it. I'm 55, so things can come into my head and leave pretty quick.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting you say that because I actually see that in data too. That episode, the earnings review episode, preview and review episode on the earnings day was added the most subscribers, had the highest ad revenue, and most engagement, which was really interesting to me. So I'll probably do it again.
It was great. It was great, Jan. That was just amazing.
Yeah, it was just me talking. It was kind of like riffing and reviewing the data. I mean, I was very methodical about it, but still, it was a lot of fun. So maybe I'll do it again. Maybe I'm trying to think of ways to diversify the YouTube channel. So I recently started doing YouTube shorts. So like 10, 20, 30-second clips from these episodes, daily episodes that go out, like one or two of them go out every day. And that seems to be generating quite a few new viewers to the channel, which is good. I mean, the last couple is actually in the hundreds of views. So that's growing really fast. That was only like a few, like 10, 20 views. And after a few of them, now it's hundreds. So that's a really nice growth rate. And that also brings people to the channel, to Tesla Live. They end up watching the full episode as well because there's a link to it. Like, this is a clip from this episode. So, and I reviewed the AI generated clips and only post the best ones. So that seems to be helping too. And really helps if you're watching this on YouTube. It really helps if you like and comment on the videos and the short clips. That spreads the channel to new viewers. Like the goal right now, the limited factor right now on the YouTube channel and on Tesla Live, financial sustainability, is we need to bring in new viewers to the space, to the channel, and to Tesla. Okay. All right, let's see. We talked about actually Smart Summon. By the way, just to be clear, there is Summon, which was what Tesla first put out years ago. It was just going back and forth. There's Summon. There's Smart Summon, where it was kind of navigating around parking lots, but that was it was mostly leveraging ultrasonic sensors. And now actually Smart Summon is leveraging Tesla Vision. So it's important to get those terms right. Okay. We talked about Tesla referrals. We talked about Tesla stock price. We talked about EV sales in Europe. One interesting thing I learned today is PHEVs, so plug-in hybrids, charge slower up to 7 times versus EVs. Okay, so that's something that we can, I think, use to point out to people that PHEVs are worst of both worlds. Just one more thing in our toolbox to show people that PHEVs, the plug-in hybrids, are worst of both worlds. Okay, so you better get EVs. They charge slower up to 7 times versus EVs. Okay. We talked all about Q3 deliveries. We talked all about macro. Any questions about macro, any of these things? Alexander and then JC.
Yeah, this was more a point on BEVs. I think most people that buys them to like drive to work, and then you can charge while it's parked at work and at home. So.
Okay, JC.
Yeah, when I think of the plug-in hybrids, this is dating me a little bit, but I remember those TVs that had the built-in VCR, VHS tape. That was the crap. Watch my words here. The worst thing ever, because if your VCR broke down, you didn't have anything. So it's like you got to remind these people, like, all right, you're basically going back to the combo TV VCR days.
Thank you very much. Any other? So I see Michelle is posting a few things about the Apple events. Michelle, if you could come up and maybe summarize it for us, it'll be like we participated in Tesla Live and also got the summary. So I see Michelle actually said AirPods 4. So that means this space's audio quality is going to go up because I'm going to get those AirPods 4s. A software update for AirPods Pro. Oh, that's really good. Maybe I'll get a software update too. Yeah, I think this is the best way. I tested so many microphones and everything. AirPods is the best way to go still, which is amazing. Yeah. All right, maybe Michelle's going to summarize Apple event for us. Michelle?
All right. There's a new stupidly expensive watch. The thing about AirPods 4 is the non-Pro AirPods, but they're going to get some Pro feature. But the Apple AirPods Pro that has a little extra rubber thing, it's just going to get the software update. And then they started talking about the new phone. It's blue. It has a camera button, so it's revolutionary. And yeah, that's they're talking about how the CPU is much better. Blah blah blah.
Okay, can you repeat what you said about AirPods? That's really what I'm interested about. AirPods. What do you think I should get?
You should you have the best one so far. The AirPod Pros that has the little extra rubber thing in your ear that really plugs your ear. So they are the best with noise cancellation and stuff. And they came up with more hearing aids and accessibility features for it. So they're just trying to sprinkle a software update on top of it. But for folks that spend a little bit less money, there is this like regular AirPods non-pros. It's gonna get a cool updates.
Okay, I'll test them both and see which one has the mic. I mean, the voice isolation is good on all of them. I need a better mic. Anyway, all right, Michelle, have you seen the new Tesla patents that went out, especially about the wireless charging, or anyone on the board, or anyone in the audience? Has anyone looked into these patents that were just published? Dallas?
Yeah, I mean, they seem to stem from the acquisition of Wyferion a few years ago. The sketches are similar, if not identical, from what I could find online. So I think this is something we knew was coming and is a mandatory link in the chain for Cybertruck, or I'm sorry, Cybercab to work. Um, I guess the real question is, do they deliver it first to home users, or is this something that they're going to debut alongside a robotaxi fleet beta test program?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. Has anyone on the board read these patents, or anyone in the audience? Have you read the patents? Is there anything unusual that we need to talk about?
Yaman, if I looked at the patents, I'll just say it'd be like reading Greek for me. So no.
They're actually not that. They're not like that. Like they're not that complicated. I just haven't had the time, but I will. And they're plain English. You can read them and summarize, or you can use AI. You know, just pull up your favorite chatbot, and as you go along, ask any terms, or maybe copy paste a sentence and say, "Can you dumb this down for me? Explain this to me like I'm 5," or something along those lines. That really helps. I mean, these are the kind of things that we talk about on AI Amateurs Space, which is 8 p.m. tonight Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. Michelle is going to be there, and he shares a lot of good tips and tricks because Michelle uses this very extensively. His chatbots, ChatGPT specifically. I've learned so much in AI Amateurs. I highly recommend people listening to those episodes. Uzi, are you going to make it tonight to AI Amateurs?
I will try to. It is at 8 p.m. for me, so sometimes I don't want to say curse word. Stuff happens around that time, but I'll try to make it.
Okay, cool. We talked about PHEVs. We talked about there's the patents. I'm going through my list. What else is on you guys' minds? Dallas?
Just state of FSD. I guess that was the smart summon portion of the call.
Yeah. Alexander?
Yeah, you remember we talked about Northvolt a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
They are now planning to close parts of their factory and to reduce the number of staff. So a little background for those who don't know, Northvolt is battery manufacturing in Sweden. They are owned 20% by Volkswagen. So they have had
Alexander
died
got a
in the
call.
factory. You can hear me now?
Can you repeat the last thing you said?
Yeah, Northvolt had many problems with scaling the production, and people have actually died in the factory. So a lot of problems. So they don't know how many they are going to get rid of, but there are 3,000 people working there today. Stated reason is challenging financial situation. So yeah.
Who are their primary customers? Do you know?
It would be Volkswagen and Volvo, I guess.
Alexander, what do you make of this recent news that Volkswagen is considering shutting down plants or laying people off in Germany, which they've never done before, right?
I can't really speak on that topic. I don't really know. I haven't looked into it that much.
Yeah, I think a first in their history is from what I understand. So this is a really major milestone that I don't think is appreciated much, JC.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that they weren't allowed to do that. I thought that there was something either in the labor relations contracts that they have, or even in German law. And again, I'm speaking, way out of pocket here, but that was my understanding was going to be one of Volkswagen's biggest issues is just how business itself works in Germany.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. That there's some contractual obligations, and they literally have the town on their board. So it's not going to be very easy for them to lay people off. But we've been talking about this possibility for the last 2 years in this space. What happens to Volkswagen specifically when they have to start laying people off and shutting production capacity, ICE production capacity in Europe? How are they going to go about it? So I guess this is the time. I guess we're about to find out how it plays out. But they have to. I mean, they have extreme ample capacity, and we're seeing graph after graph around the world, country by country, increasing adoption rate of their EVs. I saw one for Turkey today, and the person who created the graph, I'll pin it up here, said Turkey appears to have the fastest rate of adoption of EVs. Here is the graph at the top of your screens. This is coming from Laraffle. Hybrids, sorry, this is the hybrid one. And then here is the EV graph at the top. Turkey is one of the fastest adopters that he's seen to date. Only 4 years to go from 20 to 80% predicted, forecasted 4 years to go from 20 to 80% according to data he's watching. This graph is at the top of your screens. That would be really incredible. I mean, this is happening around the world, country after country. So what does this mean for companies like Toyota and Volkswagen, who are going to be the primary losers? I mean, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So
what this graph shows me is you're doing a great job, Yaman. That's your referral curve right there.
Yeah, we actually do have some Turkish listeners, as I see from the data. Alexander?
Yeah, on Volkswagen, I know some people that had the first generation ID3 and ID4, and they don't really like it because the range was really bad, and the infotainment system and such was also bad. So I think that left a bad taste in first adopters of those owners.
Yeah, and I'm particularly fascinated by Toyota because they don't have any horse in the race. They have one EV BZ4X, and that is a complete failure on so many fronts, and just have failed to take off by any stretch of the imagination. And they're going all in on hybrids and hydrogen, of all things. And BYD is eating into their share quite a bit in China. And BYD obviously has the lower price point than Tesla, competes more directly with Toyota about these things. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Toyota, because Toyota is a $300 billion company, $300 billion company with no future. I mean, how does that even happen? They also have massive amount of debt on their balance sheet. So it's more like a $400 billion enterprise value company. So I hold the view that I think Toyota, they also don't have any autonomous driving initiative either. So they got nothing, So I put out the tagline today: the Emperor has no EVs. This is at the top of your screen showing the Toyota stock price in the last 6 months down 25%. I think this might be the beginning of the end for Toyota. Alexander and Dallas.
Yeah, I think hydrogen is running a fool's errand. They tried this in Norway, and they actually have some hydrogen stations there, but they are closing down. So yeah, nobody wants hydrogen there. They are happy driving electric vehicles.
Yeah, Dallas and then Hustletown.
Yeah, I'm shocked by this hydrogen revival, if you will. I mean, I saw an ad actually yesterday on X for BMW's release of their groundbreaking, revolutionary hydrogen platform. Can someone explain it to me? Because I really don't understand it. How are you supposed to fill up the car? Like, I really don't understand that at all.
Hustletown.
Well, I'm with Dallas on that one. I really don't know how you're going to do that, but my wife's Japanese, so it took her a long time to come over to the EV revolution, and she's like, our country will never. She just sent me something from Costco's talking about Tesla Powerwalls, and I'm like, holy, it's just a matter of time. My big concern is what are these countries going to do? Toyota's too big to fail. Is this going to hurt Japan in some way? Of course it is. So when I look at countries like Turkey, if your country isn't, it doesn't have a backbone and a legacy OEM, then your adoption rate is going to be crazy. But if you're fighting it like we are, you're going to have a slow adoption rate.
Yeah, Turkey has Turkey actually has car manufacturing, auto manufacturing in the country. So some of these automakers, legacy automakers, they put their factories in Turkey because of cheap labor. The shipments to Eastern Europe come from Turkey. So, but Turkey also has its own EV brand. It's a little pricey, but it seems to be an okay. And Turkey has shipments from BYD as well as Tesla. So, and Turkish people really like Elon in general and Tesla as well. So, I mean, if you look at like before Elon took down his Instagram account, he posted a picture of himself with the Turkish president, and then also immediately after that with the Turkish Ataturk, which is a very important figure in Turkish history. And both of those posts got insane amount of engagement on Instagram. And it was, I think, two of his most popular posts. So just goes to show how, viral things can go in Turkey. JC and then Edward.
Yeah, Yama, quick question for you on that, and because a parallel that I have with Hustle, a different country, but my wife is of Vietnamese ethnicity, and Vietnam is a country very, very young, and they're adopting EVs at a very high rate. And I wonder, is Turkey a young country comparatively? Because obviously here in the U.S., we're without immigration, we're basically Europe, right? If we didn't have immigration, and I know that's a touchy subject, and I'm not going to go down that path. I'm just bringing it up from a vantage point of if we didn't have immigration in the United States, we would basically be the same as kind of stagnant European countries versus like Vietnam. My understanding is they have a very high EV adoption curve going from zero just a few years ago, but they're a very, very young country, so they don't have any biases.
Yeah, Turkey is a very young country as well. The median age in Turkey is only 34. And there's a large Turkish population on X, on Instagram. Those are the two most popular apps in Turkey in social media, Instagram and X. And I tried to get them to, create a Tesla live space in Turkish. And I said, you host it, I'll hop in every now and then. And but I couldn't get them to do it yet. Edward.
Yeah, I think there's a real macro risk, kind of like the banks dragged down pretty much everything in 08, 09. I think there's a risk of the auto companies potentially dragging down the whole market. I mean, if we have this reverse and flip going to EVs over the next 10 years, and a lot of companies go out of business, there's going to be a lot of turmoil, I think. And I think it could cause a problem for Tesla. I mean, even though Tesla, just like it did for Apple, I don't think people remember Apple went from 212 a share down to 90 a share, and Apple was just jamming the iPhone out. So, and it brought them down.
Yeah. Thank you, Edward. Yeah, Turkish government is also interested in Starlink as well. I mean, they're interested in everything you want, basically. All right. Anything else? Any other questions, Edward?
Yeah, one quick thing. Can you translate? A Turkish buddy of mine said saxophone bacharmase. What does that mean?
He said what?
Saxophone bacharmase?
I can't.
Like blow on my saxophone, I think is the is the
Okay.
terminology.
Are you trying to get canceled? You're trying to get me canceled on YouTube. Demonetize us. I got you. Any other questions, comments on Cybertruck, FSD, Tesla stock, actually smart summon, superchargers, Tesla patents? These are all topics that we discussed. If you're joining just now, we've also got a summary of the Apple event. P-heads. Has anyone had their battery changed on the board? Has anyone had their batteries replaced on the board? No? Okay. There's a lot of content recently about battery replacement cost, and they estimated between $10,000 to $15,000, which is similar to an engine replacement cost, But it seems to be one of the top two reasons why people don't buy EVs. They're worried about the battery replacement cost, and they're worried about public charging availability. Alexander?
Yeah, I heard this argument actually this weekend from some people I know. They didn't buy an Tesla because they thought they had to change the batteries.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to see some actual information on battery replacement cost. Maybe Tesla can share this information. These batteries are designed to last hundreds of thousands of miles. People don't realize that. But every now and then, somebody has to replace their battery, and that story goes viral. So we need some actual data from Tesla. JC and then Hustletown.
Yeah, maybe that's a good factor that we don't have a lot of data because they're not getting changed out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, even JB Strobel said before that, one of the biggest hurdles for Redwood, the battery recycling company, is trying to get batteries, because these batteries they designed 10 years ago are lasting more than they expected. So, Hustletown?
Yeah, that's my biggest point. Like, what would it cost to replace the battery versus just recycling the whole thing and then issuing out another vehicle? I think we just have to push them toward buying another car. I know that sounds terrible, but let's recycle these batteries and then just get new ones. You're not gonna need a battery replacement.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we can maybe brainstorm a little bit. What do you guys think Tesla can do in this arena, in this topic, to kind of inform people that batteries are designed to last hundreds of thousands of miles, longer than the engine can go? I mean, Tesla's warranty is even industry leading, you know? Um, Edward?
Yeah, I think that's the double-edged sword right there. I mean, they don't want to say, "Oh yeah, these batteries are going to last 20 years, and we're gonna warranty them for 10." I mean, it kind of looks funny, you know what I mean, to the public in general, if you start manipulating data.
What do you mean manipulating data?
Well, I mean, if you tell everybody it's warranty that the battery is going to last 20 years or 15 years or whatever, which is the data that I look up to see how long they're going to last, and then you only warranty it for 8 years. Why? It's making the company look bad. Like, why wouldn't you warranty it for 12 then, or 13 years or whatever? What's the difference?
Do you think Tesla should warranty batteries for longer, like 10 plus years?
I do personally. I think 10 would probably be insane number, because that would stop the people from being like, if you say to somebody, you're only gonna, people ask me this every time I get in a Tesla with somebody who's never been in one. How long is it? What happens when I have to replace the battery? It's gonna cost like 20,000, right? And then I tell them, well, first of all, I don't even know how long the battery's gonna last. And it's not like it's a battery; it's 7,000 small batteries. And I literally show them the battery. I'm like, here's the type of battery, and there's a bunch of them in there. It's not like all of a sudden one day all 7,000 are just going to decide to fail. That's not how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, if anybody in the audience has a story, like Edward said, a person who's never been at Tesla before, they don't follow the company as well as we do, or the technology as well as we do. The number one concern that comes up is, how much does a battery cost to replace? And the number two is public charging availability. And the answers to these are actually really easy. You know, like the facts are on our side. We just have to educate folks. So if anybody has a story they want to share, please request to speak and share with the space. Hustletown?
Cyber Tesla, I think he had to replace his Model 3, but he was doing a lot of rideshare. I think that's the only way you're going to need a battery replacement if you're just supercharging these vehicles like 2 or 3 times a day. If you're plugging it in the garage at a level 2 charger or even a wall outlet for a washer and dryer, your battery is going to last you more than you ever will need. But if you're ride sharing, yeah, you probably need to worry about battery replacement.
There was actually a study a few months ago that came out and said something like, even if you supercharge these things, the battery degradation isn't as bad as feared. And one thing I follow daily actually is used Tesla market. I look at it every morning. First thing I look at is used Tesla market, resale values, number of listings. I go through different websites to kind of get a gauge of how these things are trading. And one thing I noticed is the number of Teslas with 150,000 miles plus is increasing in the used car market right now. So you can get a used Tesla nowadays for $12,000, a used Model Y for 19,000 miles, just a couple of years old, because these cars have been on the Uber ride sharing service. And I call up the dealership every now and then and say, what's wrong with this car? And they tell me that there's no cosmetic issues. They tell me that the battery range is reasonable, not much of a degradation. And maybe I'll start going to the dealership and checking it myself. But I'm actually personally witnessing now that these batteries last more than people expect. The other really interesting thing about these two issues, okay, that come up when you survey people, why don't you have an EV? And so I read these studies, right? And people say battery replacement cost and public charging availability. The interesting thing about these two things is in a robotaxi future, neither of those matter, right? Like when you call on Uber, you don't care about the range. You don't care when the driver refuels the Uber. You don't care about how it looks, what color is it. You don't care about the replacement cost of the engine. All you care about is price and how quickly can you get there. That's it. So the two primary issues why people don't buy an EV today fall off the priority list in the robotaxi feature. And I think this is why Elon's focused on getting to robotaxis more than selling Teslas today. Steve says, just tagged you on an old post from Zach about battery degradation. All right, let's see. Let's see what he tagged me on. There we go. Zach says, even after 37,500 hard miles with my Model 3 still has 98% battery capacity. I track the car, drive it hard, supercharge it often, yet it's still holding up. Tesla battery technology is out of this world, he says. Okay, great. Wonderful. Finally, a post from Zach where he's not complaining. I'm just kidding. Edward.
Yeah, I just ran the calculation on mine. I've lost 5 miles in 5 years. I have 98% battery on the Model 3 Performance with the nickel battery. So it's not even the LFPs, which are supposed to be even more reliable long term, from what I understand.
Thank you, Edward. Edward, I know you have a YouTube channel. Are you putting any new content?
Not currently, but I might start doing stuff around the robotaxi. That was kind of how I kind of ended it because, it wasn't really moving forward in 2020 early. So I might do that a little bit more, not more like FSD drives like everybody is already doing, more so like how it's going to play out. What's the best strategies that people can take if they're trying to start a network, or what should they do with their car? What are they afraid of? People have a lot of fears about it.
Okay, you should come to my YouTube channel. Let's do a deeper conversation with you. One-on-one deeper conversation with Alexander for episode 4, and then Edward, and then I'm going to have JC on. So with Edward, I can talk about your Cybertruck. There's a lot of demand for content around after a few months. How do you feel about the Cybertruck? And maybe we can have your wife on there too, and your son as well. We can do a family conversation.
And what's mine going to be about? Yama, the Dallas Cowboys, and catfish?
I'm going to talk to you about Model S Plaid, the new Model 3, and perception of Tesla in Texas. Okay. And then
Sounds
maybe we
good.
can have Hustletown on there too, since it's from Texas as well. Yeah, I want to have more of my speakers on my YouTube channel, do a one-on-one conversation. You know. And I recommend watching. So I pinned at the top the episode with Uzi. Give it a watch and see kind of like, because the format is very different from Tesla Live. The conversations, the topics, the format is very different. But we're always going to go through that one page that I created to track people's predictions about different aspects of Tesla. So I expect all speakers to have a comprehensive understanding of the company, of all product lines, and have at least a prediction about when we're going to get to FSD, robotaxis, Optimus, Cybertruck. Everybody has their specific, like Alexander is very much focused on, manufacturing, Optimus, but he understands, like if I ask him a question about Cybertruck, he can talk intelligently to it. And that's the kind of thing I expect from my speakers, that liberal arts kind of mentality, Okay.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about FSD.
Okay, very good. I'll reach out to you to schedule something then. All right. Let's see. What other news we need to talk about? Have you guys seen anything interesting? Let's see. Fleet Profit is coming up. Fleet Profit, go ahead.
Yeah, if you want some information about EV battery degradation, one of the, our supplier's been tracking vehicles for over 20 years, and we've got an analysis of about 10,000 EVs and their battery degradation over the last few years. I can dig into that a little more and give that, send it your way.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us some highlights right now.
Some of the top highlights would be, so all the EV brands are anonymous in the public facing study, and there's a blog on it. I can post that up in the comments. The best performing is looking to be about, after 3 years, only degrading 2%. They're also talking about the average degradation curve. Kind of works like, I don't know, it drops quickly, immediately, and then it's very gradual for a period of time, and then further down the curve, it starts to accelerate again. So the speculation is based on the data that a battery could basically last about 20 years before it degraded enough to be no good. So I don't see any statistics about failure in here, but I will take a look at that as well.
Let me ask you a specific question. This sounds like a very comprehensive study. Do you see a difference, a material difference, between battery degradation of Tesla's batteries versus other manufacturers' batteries?
I looked at this same study 3 or 4 years ago, when it was basically S and X batteries, and even then it was surprisingly low degradation compared to the speculation. Like the Strobel comment is is very true. It's backed by data. They thought it would be faster, and it actually wasn't. When looking at this current study over 11 different models, I mean, we've got EVs down to 88%, after 5 years. I am guessing that is not going to be the Tesla, but it is. They can be anywhere from 92 to 88% after 5 years. So, like I said, when I dig a little deeper, I can probably dig into the data that's not public facing and see which one is the Tesla.
Yeah, definitely come up as often as you can and talk about this and specific takeaways. I need to get to my audience specific takeaways that they can share with their friends, family, colleagues, and use to respond to FUD. Okay, so every time you come up, maybe have one tweet, show the graph, and just think of it like a soundbite that people can use to fight FUD. Okay.
You got it.
Okay. Great. Any other questions for Fleet Profit? Please request to speak. It's amazing. Like I've never met somebody who actually had to replace their Tesla battery, even though this is a top concern from potential buyers. It's kind of wild. But there's some really there's some really distinct areas where perception is so wildly different than reality when it comes to Tesla. Edward?
Yeah, I think what's thrown in there is people don't realize how short they actually drive a car before they get bored of it or whatever and want a new car. So if people don't hold cars for 10 or 15 years anymore. So, I mean, most people should be in a new Tesla within 10 years, in my opinion, because the technology is going to be different in 10 years. So, I mean, why hold on to that car?
Yeah, exactly. JC, I noticed that you stopped posting your FSD percentage of miles posts. Why?
Well, the original one I had to because of the car accident, and I wasn't able to drive for a little over a month. But I started posting it again, and in fact, I mean, I'm at 100% right now. It's not my pinned post; it's one of my recent posts. So I have driven nothing but FSD since I picked up my new Model 3 17 days ago. I am up to 538 miles, all of it on FSD, 0 disengagements, 0 interventions. I'm in Houston, Texas, which isn't Hustletown. Will tell you there's a few areas that can have a little complexity to it, but I will acknowledge, 30 miles northeast of Houston is the most complex thing we have out here is county roads with no lane markings and whatnot. But yeah, I have, and I'm on 12.360. I mean, I'm not even on 12.5 yet. I have yet to have even an intervention since I picked this car up. So I have posted it. It's just that I'm at number one, I'm at 100%, and number two, I'm below 2,000 miles. So that's in my post. I do it at the end of every day. I'm like, all right, I'm up to 400 now. I'm up to 450 now. I'm up to 5. So I was 538 as of the end of yesterday. And I figure that once I get past 2,000 miles, I've won. And I want to know what my prize is.
That's really good. So tell me about these couple issues in Houston. You said that FSD can have a problem.
Yeah, it doesn't have a problem. I would say that if I were going to compare, like I've always heard people say Chicago, Manhattan, those have always been real bugbears for FSD. I would say, and Hustletown may agree or disagree, but if I was thinking Houston, I would think the museum district is fairly difficult because there's it's not just that it's a maze of, the Houston Museum District is probably, if not the best, maybe the second best museum district in the country behind New York. And lots of traffic, lots of people on foot. So that's one area. And then the second one is our airport, Intercontinental Airport. It is just a hot mess. I've told somebody the other day, it reminds me of when I walked into Kuwait City in February of 1991. It is, you know what, from the floor up. They've got so much construction going on there that there's makeshift signs. The signs are wrong half the time. So getting somebody to a terminal on FSD alone is pretty much impossible. So those are the two areas that I would say. But other than that, I'd say Houston is it's very wide geographic. It's probably the largest geographic metro area in the country. So I'll give you, for instance, where I live is considered Houston. If I were to drive to meet a buddy of mine who lives in a place called Sugarland, he's on the outskirts of Sugarland. That's 75 miles, and I've never left Houston. That's how big this place is. So that is one, I guess, makes it a little easier because it's not like San Francisco where, you know, everything's so confined, or LA where the traffic is just. The third thing I would say that makes Houston maybe more difficult, and Hustletown, tell me if you agree or disagree, but folks out here, when you get on the Beltway 8 or 610, it's like they're trying to qualify for NASCAR Winston Series out here. They will hover on your back like Ricky Bobby trying to take over Daytona. I mean, they are on your you know what. And so that, I will tell you, FSD doesn't give a hoot about somebody like that, but it does as a supervisor. You're sitting there like, oh my God, please, and do not fan and brake right now, because this would not be good. But those would be the difficulties I would say about Houston, is just the people. They are out there. There's a lot of NASCAR fans here, and obviously wannabes as well. And then the museum district and the airport.
Yeah, that's very informational. Thank you very much. All the color. Hustletown, what do you think about what JC said? What are your observations of FSD in Texas and Houston?
He's 100% right. I live even further than the Sugarland he speaks of. So if he were to get to me, it might be closer to 90 miles. And we're all in the Houston, greater Houston.
We're definitely gonna make that happen, Bub.
Oh yeah, I put it in the YouTube live chat that we need a ride. I get my car back on Wednesday, so I can get back to doing my videos, which are, you know, fun. But my main problems happen on the freeway, considering it's all so far away. So with the museum district, it's about being able to get over in a moment's notice. Right now, it's a little hesitant to try to make some exits, and I don't mind going looping around. It's just a little bit longer. FSD will get you to where you need to be. It just doesn't meet that human standard of I need to get there right now, or as my wife would say, I wouldn't do it that way. Well, you're not FSD, and you're a terrible driver, so be quiet. So I don't want my car to drive like 90% of the NASCAR drivers here in the Houston area. I want it to be safe. I want to get to my job. And if I do get in an accident, which I did, it's not my fault. They're going to pay for my vehicle to get repaired and the value that is being diminished. So I have a keen sense of what JC is talking about, and he's 100% correct. There's always room for improvement. But when I get my car back, I'm trying to get on that 100% miles on FSD, much like my brother there.
Wait, so you got into an accident. You think your wife is a bad driver?
I got into an accident because of a Nissan being distracted on her phone as I was trying to get onto I-10. God, I hate that freeway. But my wife is not a bad driver. She is Asian, and I kind of play with this stereotype a little bit, but she is a much better driver than me, and I will concede
Wow.
that. But
oh my gosh,
that's why
you
I love
did not
FSD.
you did not make us miss machine.
This would be a great collab
Forgive
because
me.
my wife is
Forgive
Asian
me.
as well. I could imagine you and I driving around with our wife. That is yeah, that
I
would be
mean,
a sight to see.
If we don't get canceled after this episode, we'll never get canceled. Anyway, JC, we got to get you to 12.5.
From your lips to God's ears, baby.
Yeah, that's amazing that you're still on 12.3.6 despite all the contributions you've made to FSD content on X and Tesla Live. That's a shame.
Yeah, I think they're saving me up for V13. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't think V13 is coming out this year. I actually have a coffee bet on that. But so if anybody from the autopilot team is listening to this, please send JC 12.5 so he can share with us his observations in Tesla Live.
I would love that. Thank you, Yaman.
Yeah, Hustle Town.
Yeah, once I get the car out the shop, JC, we're gonna do this. We're gonna put a date down, not like Tesla does, and then say, 3 months from now. We're gonna make a hard date sometime at the end of September. How's that sound to you?
That sounds awesome, man. Can you use another term besides date, though?
No, we're doing a double date. I'm gonna see if the wife can come. We're gonna try to correlate these schedules, but we're gonna make this a double date, and we're gonna make a little thing out of it.
Hey, by the way, did you go to the Japanese festival this weekend?
My wife did. I had to.
Yeah, my wife did as well. Yeah, she tried to drag me to it. I was like, hell no.
Do you have an Asian wife too?
Yeah, mine's Vietnamese.
Oh, that's
She
right.
actually
Okay.
has a we own a like I do anything. She has a Vietnamese restaurant and boba shop about 10 miles from the house. So, and yeah, a couple other
Okay, cool.
businesses with a typical immigrant family just come here and just work their you know what off and live in the
You can't
American
say
dream.
it. You can't say it. This
Work their
episode
butt
is
off.
already we're already demonetized. I mean, there's no coming back from this episode. We're canceled, so let it all out.
Hustletown and I are sorry, man.
That's okay. No problem. No problem. I like being in this space. It's my favorite time of the day. So no problem at all. All right. Anything else that we're gonna talk about? Let's see if there's any other news. You know, there's some sort of event going on from some sort of company I've never heard about today right now. So it really helps when people like and repost the space, share with your followers, drive some engagement, so that we can prove to the world that Tesla Live is more interesting than the Apple event. I mean, a major news that came out today is actually Mobileye is ending its LiDAR development for use in autonomous and highly automated driving systems and laying off about 100 employees. Mobileye is ending its use of LiDAR and laying off about 100 employees. And famously, Intel bought Mobileye for a lot of money. I don't remember exactly how much, but I think they had to write down their investment in Mobileye. Let me just check real quick how much they paid for Mobileye. They paid $15 billion. Intel paid $15 billion in 2017 for Mobileye. And the company, it turned out to be worthless, just like Elon predicted. Elon predicted back in early 2019 that that any company that's using LiDAR is going to drop it. It took them a long time, by the way, for these companies to realize they had to drop LiDAR. But they are falling like flies one by one eventually. JC?
So are we to expect a Mobileye Q here pretty soon with Dan?
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, I guess one company that still hasn't dropped LiDAR, obviously, is Waymo. And Waymo has about 700 robotaxis, literal robotaxis on the roads, scaling slowly but surely. And they use LiDAR. In their latest generation of their cars, they got rid of one LiDAR, but so they're removing sensors one by one, but very, very slowly. Finflexity.
Yeah, Intel might be selling away Mobileye even more this year because they don't have enough money to fund their foundries.
Exactly. Yeah.
How is
Man,
my voice quality today?
it is so much better. What did you do?
I got a new mic.
What did you get? That's awesome. What did you get?
A Sony lapel mic.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you very much for doing that. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, sound quality. Hopefully mine will improve too. I'm gonna look into these new AirPods that came out today and order one of them. And the ones I have right now is about 2 years old. So um, hopefully my quality will improve in this space. Team Flexity, what other news? You keep a close eye on the news. What other news do you have that we should talk about?
I think we haven't heard anything much going on within the last week. After Nvidia and Dell, I think it has been rather quiet.
Yeah, what happened with Nvidia? There was some news or some rumors that they got a antitrust investigation, but then they denied it, right?
Yeah, so it was a rumor that Nvidia had been basically subpoenaed by the DOJ, but one day later they came out and said that we have been talking with the DOJ about an inquiry, but there has been no issuance of a subpoena yet. And before that it had already lost like 400 billion in valuation, so not a big deal.
Now they didn't recover that though, right? So doesn't that say the drop in valuation was probably not due to the DOJ rumors? Complexity?
Oh, the drop in valuation actually started before the DOJ came out with the news.
JC.
Yeah, Yaman, this in my mind is exhibit A of where our antitrust laws in the US can go wrong. Don't get me wrong, I believe in the spirit of antitrust and capitalism and competitiveness, but we saw this play out exactly like this with semiconductors, right? Where we were the global leader in semiconductors. And due to some state laws and antitrust, we started carving them up. And now we have like zero over here. And I'm afraid that if we really like go hard in the paint on Nvidia as a monopoly and starts getting broken up, well, those buyers aren't all going to be in the United States. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if we're wanting, like right now, we have it, it's ours, just like we used to have all the semiconductors. And I'm old enough to see, I've seen this happen before with other industries. And I just hope that we're careful and we don't use a sledgehammer with our antitrust laws and we use more of a scalpel. But I don't know, with the current administration, it seems like they wanted to be more of the sledgehammer. Just my thoughts.
Okay. Complexity.
Yeah, actually, the one thing that didn't make sense about Nvidia was the fact that while at the same time Wall Street was basically coming out and raising the price targets, it was still selling off. So I think the sell-off started maybe 7 or 8 days ago. So it since then we have had like 10 earnings upgrades to Nvidia. So basically, we had many small firms and many large investment banks come out and say that we are increasing our price target by 10%, 20%, and yet the stock is still down.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's an overvalued company. I understand they have a bit of a moat with CUDA, but it's not an insurmountable moat. And from a competitive analysis perspective, there's already examples of certain customers breaking away from that supposed moat. So I think it's just a matter of time. I think it's an overvalued company. And I mentioned this with my interview with Uzi, linked to which is at the top of our screens on my YouTube channel, one-on-one conversations. Putting Tesla in the same bucket as Nvidia, or putting Nvidia in the same bucket as Tesla, or putting Jensen in the same bucket of Elon should be a crime. Should be illegal. Alexander, do you follow NVIDIA closely?
Not really. I had Nvidia stock back in 2017. Then I sold a year later with 100% profit, and I'm angry at myself because I did that. I'm stupid.
So why don't you buy it now? I mean, the stock is down 30% from the top.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it actually. Yeah, maybe.
Why haven't you?
I rather buy Tesla stock when I can, actually. So maybe I've actually been thinking about selling a Tesla stock today, a small portion, but I don't know. I can't. I don't have the heart to do it, I think.
Really? Why? Why would you sell? Why would you sell? Let's see. Right now, NVIDIA is down. 141 is the 52-week high, and they're at 104. 104, 141. Yeah, I mean about 25%, 25, 30% down. And you're thinking about selling Tesla to buy NVIDIA? Is that what you said?
Not specifically Nvidia, maybe, but I had a much more diverse portfolio before, and I made a lot of gains on like Bitcoin and other crypto, and then I bought more Tesla stock. So I haven't been as heavy on Tesla stock as I am now before.
Okay. Well, Omar is here, and he decided to dump Apple and come to Tesla Live instead, finally, after he realized the Apple event, all they talked about is the new color of blue for the iPhone 16 and nothing else new. And the real action is in Tesla Live, where we discuss Optimus, robotaxis, Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, the Boring Company, and all of those in and of itself is better than the blue color of the new iPhone. Together, there's no comparison. Tesla Live is the better event than the Apple event. Am I right? You agree?
Yeah, kind of tuned out, was getting a little boring there, but I'll probably buy some of their new stuff anyway.
Yeah. Would you like to? I mean, we have 20 minutes to go in Tesla Live. Would you like to summarize it for us, the Apple event?
Yeah, there wasn't really anything new. They basically just released the same phones as last year again. You know, they added a new camera button, and then they said, "Oh, the Weekend filmed a music video with the newest iPhone." I'm like, I don't care.
Okay, great summary. Doesn't sound like we missed anything. What do you think of this NVIDIA discussion? Alexander is thinking about selling Tesla to buy NVIDIA.
I'm not buying Nvidia, you know, so I like to buy stocks that are underappreciated by the market. Often when you chase something like Nvidia, it can be a disappointment, especially when everyone has such high expectations. So, I mean, I was thinking of doing the opposite, to be honest.
There you go, Alexander. Omar is thinking the opposite. How does that make you feel about your life?
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm not gonna buy Nvidia. I don't think. Maybe something else. I mean, I've had stock Tesla stock for so many years without selling.
Somebody probably said that right before Amazon got AWS going too, Alexander.
Everybody gonna hate me now.
No, we won't. We already hate you, so that's nothing new. But
Not-
hopefully you'll. I'm
That's
kidding.
the one.
Hopefully you'll come to my one-on-one deeper conversation series, and we can dig into this a little bit more in person, and I can grill you one-on-one in ways
You
I
know
can't
what?
do here in Tesla Live. Go ahead.
You know what? 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Um, All right, Omar, what do you think about Mobileye dropping um, LiDAR, I guess, and 100 employees?
Well, Mobileye is basically a disaster. They were regarded as one of the leaders in self-driving. They've just completely failed to move beyond basic lane keeping assistant to higher levels of autonomy. I mean, they have their supervision system and some self-driving cars, but they've fallen far behind. Their parent company, Intel, is also a disaster. And from people I've talked to, they don't have great things to say about Mobileye. They've come out against end-to-end self-driving before FSD 12 was released. They said it'll never work, regulators will never approve it, it's never going to happen. Then we tried it immediately. Everybody goes, oh yeah, this is the future, no doubt. The other versions sucked. So they were completely wrong about that. Now, today's announcement is that they are no longer making their own LiDAR. So they had a plan to make their own LiDAR. Now they're saying, look, computer vision and radar and our other systems have gotten so good that it's basically stupid to make our own LiDAR. Which, duh, I could have told you that. But they still say, look, we're probably still going to use time of flight LiDARs from other providers on, for example, our autonomous vehicles. But, they're starting to step back as deep learning and AI improve. And I think in the future, they'll even abandon LiDAR for their autonomous vehicles. Their business of supplying units to companies is really mostly vision based, right? So these sort of LiDAR robotaxis they're doing are not really deployed at all in any meaningful scale. And their business is really mostly a pure vision business. So if they were smart, they would just focus on that, I think, because that's what they're actually selling to their customers. And having these other systems with a bunch of sensors, I think, is a distraction from the core business of selling ADAS. And frankly, their ADAS has fallen far behind. So it used to be the viewpoint of the market that, okay, well, Mobileye is one of the companies that's best positioned to capture on the rise of autonomy because their business is just like Tesla's, right? They have ADAS, so they should be able to take that and extend it forward into higher levels of autonomy. But they kind of have failed to do that. And not only that, the market for their ADAS is getting hit from companies like Nvidia, companies like Tesla. People are going to other suppliers because Mobileye is falling behind and they're so slow.
Yeah.
So things have not gone well for them.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. And I'm going to ask you your take on actually Smart Summon, but a quick shout out to our sponsors. Paymore, are your electronics getting dusty? Are you ready to upgrade? Paymore buys, sells, trades, and recycles electronics because Paymore believes the best technology doesn't have to come at the cost of our planet or your wallet. Visit one of the 100 Paymore stores near you or visit paymore.com. The link is at the top of our screens. The second sponsor, Joa, Tesla owners. This one's for you. Tesla Live is fueled by Joa, the ultimate destination for premium Tesla accessories. Looking for lightning fast charging solutions? They've got you covered. Joa's got the gear to take your Tesla experience to the next level. And because you're part of the Tesla Live community, Joa is hooking you up. Use the code TSLA Live at checkout for a special discount. Head over to joa-live.com/TSLA Live right now and deck out your ride. Thanks, Joa, for powering the Tesla community. The link is at the top of your screens. Omar, what's the latest on actually Smart Summon? You've been testing it. AI Drive is posting really high quality videos, doing some testing that's kind of pushing the limits. What was your rating at 10? Do you think this is going to drive FSD take rates higher? Do you think this is going to drive Tesla orders higher?
I think it's really fun to see your car operate driverlessly. In my testing, it's worked pretty much every time. So it's hard to find a situation it can't handle. It now handles stop signs and other things within the parking lot, just like FSD did. So it's a great improvement, and I think that people who try it with common use cases, I mean, even something like a Costco parking lot, they're going to find that it's actually able to handle things like that. So I do think a lot of people will subscribe just because it's a cool feature to have. Um, in terms of how often people really use it, I think FSD supervised is really the big thing that actually saves you time in real life. That's still kind of the main course, but it is fun to say, hey, look what I can make my car do and have it drive over to you driverlessly. It's going to be key to continue to extend this. I want a longer distance that I can call the car from, double the distance. I want to be able to press one button rather than holding the button, and things like that. So they've got some big improvements that are coming up. This isn't the end. They are going to make it even better, and eventually, what we're going to see is it expand from just being able to be driverless in parking lots to maybe highways and traffic jams, not requiring attention, and expanding that driverless profile, to more and more scenarios, including even, for example, just longer distance in the same parking lot.
Good. Thank you very much. And for those of you who are just joining, earlier we discussed actually Smart Summon, Tesla referral program, Tesla's new patents, Q3 deliveries, PHEVs, charging versus EVs, battery replacement cost, charging availability, EV sales in Europe, and FSD software as well, with about a dozen speakers. Highly recommend watching it, listen to it from the beginning. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give it a like and leave a comment. Really helps drive growth for the channel. Omar, Elon recently talked about adding new superchargers. What do you think prompted that reply? Why do you think he's focused on superchargers?
I think that they are building out a lot of these new V4 superchargers. I was in San Diego this weekend, and I get to the supercharger station, and there's a bunch of V3 chargers, but there's these new V4s. They're way bigger. They're these white pillars. They look more modern. And of course, they support the latest fast charging technology so you can charge your vehicle even faster. Things like, for example, higher power on the Cybertruck. They've gone up to 250 with 250 kilowatts with the old V3 superchargers. These new V4s should support 350 and beyond. And Tesla vehicles have traditionally used a 400-volt architecture for their internal high voltage battery before. New vehicles like the Cybertruck and the next gen vehicles actually use an 800-volt platform. So that allows you to actually charge a lot faster. But we don't have the stations yet to enable that. So we do need a big build out of these new stations. And I think that's coming. In San Diego, you could see they had these new ones built, but they were still roped off. They weren't turned on yet. And it was funny. I was there and I said, oh, okay, the prices drop at 11 p.m. Let me show up at 11 p.m. and get some super cheap electricity. And this huge line of cars shows up at 11, and they're all showing up to get this really cheap electricity, like below market rates. And I'm like, okay, well, never mind. I'm not waiting in this line. But you can really see all those people showing up. And if those V4 superchargers were open, that line would have been quite a bit shorter. So it's kind of like what we call a good problem to have. They're just selling so many EVs, especially now that they're at lower prices, that we need a huge build out of superchargers to match, especially in the most popular markets like California, where EVs are extremely commonplace now.
Okay, great. Thank you. On Friday, we had a really great discussion about Waymo's new data hub, and you shared a lot of the insights. If anybody in the audience hasn't seen Friday's episode, I highly recommend listening to it. Omar, have you been digging into that data some more? Any further insights from Waymo's publicly available data now?
Download the data, but you download the data, it's like a CSV file with like 3 rows in it that just says what's on the website. So there is a little bit of smoke and mirrors here, but I think they're setting the right precedent. I think if you have a driverless service, you need to be pretty open with the public, share this data regularly about how your system's performing. And I believe them that they're actually reducing crashes in the cities compared to a human driver now. Because they only have 700 cars, they only think they've prevented about 50 crashes. But it does show that the technology does work. And if you can scale it up, the benefit's going to be much bigger.
Okay, good. If you want more information about Waymo's now publicly available safety data and the data hub and all the discussions we had on Friday, the link is at the top of your screens. You can listen to it on X, watching on YouTube, or read the summary on Patreon as well. All of those links are now at the top of your screens. Omar, anything else? Anything from macro or Tesla, Cybertruck, Q3 production deliveries? Any other thoughts? We have about 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I just think Tesla has some very big things in store for us with this next generation of vehicles, from what I've been hearing. So I think the 1010 event and really the first half of 25 is going to be amazing. We're seeing very strong Tesla China sales. I think there's a massive growth opportunity in China if you can introduce smaller, lower cost Tesla models and FSD. Okay, so very high China sales. And by the way, the most competitive EV market in the world. I think we can do even much better than we're doing today. And FSD in the United States, just it reminds me so much of the Model 3 when the commentary you're seeing in the news and what you're seeing in the product are so different. And a lot of people are frustrated the software's taking a long time to roll out because they need to roll out hands-free safely. And a lot of people feel like, well, if it's not on my car, it doesn't exist. But in fact, this new software does exist. And they're really on the verge of, I think, the majority of cars running it. According to Elon, we're going to see a wide release of actually Smart Summon this week. So I saw like S&P Global Mobility or something say, we think that by 2034, there will be 200,000 autonomous cars in the United States. I said, really? 200,000? Perhaps you don't realize that there are 6 million Teslas in the world, and over 500,000 of them are already running self-driving software today in 2024. So there's a massive, massive gap between what's happening on the ground with the technology here and what the public is aware of. And it reminds me so much of what happened with the Model 3 and electrification, where people were really pretty ignorant about electrification until the Model 3 popularized it. And I think we're seeing the exact same thing happen with FSD, but it's really 10 times bigger. And as it keeps improving, it just gets more and more impactful. Supervised ADAS, kind of nice. When you get to unsupervised, it's much, much bigger. When you
Okay,
get
good.
beyond that, I mean, the thing is starting to make mistakes less often than I do.
Okay, good. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific, we're going to have the AI amateurs space. Michelle is going to be there. Uzi is going to be there. Omar, are you going to be able to make it tonight to AI amateurs?
I'm going to be driving, but I'll try.
Okay. And hopefully Robert Scoble will be there as well. And we're going to discuss the latest and the greatest in artificial intelligence and robotics. This is a weekly podcast. I learn a lot in the space, especially Michelle shares tips and tricks on how to leverage AI to increase your productivity in your daily lives. We're going to have more of that today. And from what I understand, Claude is going to have a new model released soon called Opus. So I'm going to dig into that after this space and share what I learned in AI amateur space. I highly recommend people check it out. And with that, thank you very much, everybody. And I will chat with you tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific in AI Amateurs. Take care, everybody.